away from capitalism and its devastating impact on the average working class individual, back to our current predicament, a war with Venezuela, potentially, and lawmakers saying that the Pentagon may have committed war crimes amid questions over alleged drug boat shootout. I got to pee real quick.
Attacks on alleged drug boats off of South America. Those strikes have killed dozens of people, including one that reportedly targeted survivors of an initial attack. Meanwhile, President Trump raised the pressure on Venezuela's president, warning pilots not to fly over that country. Nancy Cordes is at the White House with more on all this. Nancy, good morning.
Tony, good morning to you. Over the weekend, President Trump appeared to send a major signal that some kind of strike was imminent, but nothing materialized, which left the Venezuelans and members of Congress here wondering exactly what he has planned and when. This comes as a new report from the Washington Post leads some lawmakers to ask whether the Pentagon has committed a war crime.
There is a buildup that the president has not explained.
Ohio Republican Mike Turner spoke for many lawmakers Sunday when he questioned the massive U.S. mobilization in the Caribbean.
It is certainly a significant concern in Congress.
Those concerns grew more urgent this weekend after President Trump announced that airlines and pilots should consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety.
Don't read anything into it.
When Trump was asked why he issued that warning, he would only say this.
Because we consider Venezuela to be not a very friendly country.
Now there's a new controversy over those strikes on suspected Venezuelan drug boats. The Washington Post reported that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave an order to kill everybody on board before the first boat strike September 2nd. When two survived, the Special Operations Commander overseeing the attack reportedly ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions. And the two men were blown apart in the water.
This rises to the level of a war crime, if it's true.
Now lawmakers in both parties are vowing to investigate.
If it was as if the article said, that is a violation of the law of war.
Hegseth called the story fabricated and derogatory and made light of it Sunday night by posting a pretend children's book cover depicting an armed turtle firing on drug boats. President Trump was at.
Yeah, the irony is like the attack on the drug boat, quote unquote drug boat, is quite literally the war crime in and of itself. But we're doubling down on the war crimes by doubly attacking the boat and two-tapping it. So I guess it's the Israelification of America in some ways. I guess one could say that America has always done this stuff, and there is truth to that as well. But yeah, it's this story in and of itself is so crazy because like it's both crazy because double tapping is explicitly a war crime, but the very fact that we are just blowing up drug boats off the coastline of Venezuela on international waters is a war crime in and of itself. What the fuck are we doing? This almost reminds me of the Signalgate saga, where everybody was like, oh, I can't believe you leaked the details of like America's bombing campaign in Yemen. And the question nobody was asking in mainstream media was, why the fuck are we bombing Yemen? Hello?
Last Sunday night, if he thought a follow-on strike like that would be legal.
I wouldn't have wanted that, not a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine. And if there were two people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
Oh, okay. If Pete said that didn't happen, then that's fine. Except now they're saying the White House has confirmed that the Admiral approved the second boat strike, the second deadly boat strike. Caroline Leavitt defended the decision to kill civilians who had fallen off the boat after a first strike. Reminder, Admiral Alvin Halsey, the commander overseeing the operations of the Caribbean, announced his resignation the same day as Hegseth's illegal kill-them-all strike against survivors. I don't know. Was that the same day? But yeah, here is Caroline Leavitt being asked a very solid question. The president said that if someone sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president. How is that any different than what the administration is doing, or what the administration is accusing Maduro of doing? Yeah, oh, here. Does the administration, first and foremost, the administration was asked whether or not they denied that the second strike happened. Let's take a look at what they said.
Gabe. Thank you, Caroline. Excuse me. Regarding Venezuela, the president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, the reported second strike on an alleged drug boat on September 2nd, the secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, Does the administration deny that that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Abe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough...
Yes, it's a war crime, but we had to do it because of insert made-up reason. Yeah. It seems like the administration has their fall guy. They're claiming that Hegseth delegated the strike to SOCOM commander Admiral Bradley. Last night, Trump Tonight the reporters, Hegseth said he didn't do it, adding when pressed yet again about the legality of the strikes, I wouldn't have wanted that, a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. Trump in October, we're going to kill them. Every single day, they run with the same exact modus operandi where they just go, that's not true. It's fake news. Okay, maybe it's real news. Maybe it doesn't matter if it was real news. Also, insert additional made-up information as to why this had to happen. It's annoying how libs are only now recognizing the war crimes of the American state. Them sleeping during the last 20 years pisses me off so much. No, I don't care. I just, it's good. It's good that they're waking up to it. And they should make a lot more fuss about this shit. This is an opportunity for you to have a conversation with people that you know that may have been oblivious to what America was doing and only now are going, wow, this is really fucked up, actually. This is an opportunity for you to tell them, to explain to them that, like, the very fact that we are striking these boats instead of, like, apprehending them, for example, is already ridiculous and a war crime in and of itself and completely unacceptable. Okay? Use the momentum to your advantage. Don't just cast this aside as like people only now realizing. Never gatekeep morality. I think it's a silly thing to do. But yeah, as far as it stands, you have the Admiral Bradley gave the order for the second strike is what they're saying now. Okay, says Bradley was within legal right to order the second strike. So White House not disputing the second strike, but is disputing Hegseth gave the kill order. Trump admin's case, Trump designation of drug traffickers equals fair game for legal, in air quotes, lethal targeting. Hegseth authorized Bradley to conduct September 2nd kinetic strikes. Bradley worked well within his authority to strike boat. Hegseth did not order everyone killed. So we went from it didn't actually happen to even if it did happen, it was good to yes, it did happen, but it wasn't Pete Hegseth. Just wait until tomorrow when it's no, absolutely it was Pete Hegseth, and it was Donald Trump actually that told Pete Hegseth, that told the fucking Admiral Bradley, but also it was all good and great and totally valid and warranted. Okay. At what point was it actually Hamas that struck the boat? Yeah. Well, we haven't reached that level of Israel yet. We haven't reached that level of Israelification yet, where we turn around and say Venezuela actually blew up their own boat, you know? Because that's the most Israel way of going about it, where you're like, oh, well, I know that we actually celebrated blowing up these boats, but this boat was actually blown up on its own because it was a bunch of Venezuelan terrorists that were trafficking bombs, and Maduro actually blew it up because they wanted to make America look bad. Give it a minute. We'll get there.
Question. The president several days ago said it was his intention to pardon the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug trafficker.
Wait. I lived to see Islamo-narco-Bolshevism grow from a meme to an actual manufactured consent. Venezuela has become a major launch pad for huge volumes of cocaine shipped to West Africa, where jihadists are helping traffic it to Europe and record. Dude, Wall Street Journal, I think, is the least reputable newspaper in out of all the major papers. Straight up. They are the worst. They are the worst of the worst newspaper in America. Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. By the way, the reason why this question is being launched at Caroline Leavitt and this administration in particular is because Donald Trump, amid the we have to kill Maduro, we have to bomb Venezuela because they're drug trafficking, actually turned around and pardoned a convicted drug trafficker because he's homies with the current person that he wants to run Honduras. Okay, so the reason why they're asking this question specifically, the president said that if someone sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president. How is that different than what the administration is accusing Maduro of doing? We are accusing Maduro of participating in drug trafficking. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, in the same time frame, literally pardoned someone who we weren't accusing of drug trafficking, but someone who actually had drug trafficked so much, that they were actually arrested, like they were convicted of drug trafficking. Okay? It's fucking insane.
Question. The president several days ago said it was his intention to pardon the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted
No, not Ross Ulbricht. I'm not talking about the fucking Silk Road guy. I'm talking about the Honduran cocaine guy that Donald Trump also pardoned this past weekend. Juan Orlando Hernandez Alvarado, okay, is a Honduran lawyer, former politician, also convicted drug trafficker who served as the 38th president of Honduras for 2 consecutive terms from the 27th of January 2014 to the 27th of January 2022. This guy, Juan Orlando Hernandez, whom Mr. Trump called a victim of persecution, helped orchestrate a decades-long trafficking conspiracy. It ravaged his Central American country. He once boasted that he would stuff the drugs up the gringos' noses. He accepted a $1 million bribe from El Chapo to allow cocaine shipments to pass through Honduras. A man was killed in prison to protect him. At the federal trial of Juan Orlando Hernandez in New York, testimony and evidence showed how the former president maintained Honduras as a bastion of the global drug trade. He orchestrated a vast trafficking conspiracy that prosecutors said raked in millions for cartels while keeping Honduras one of Central America's poorest, most violent, and corrupt countries. Last year, Mr. Hernandez was convicted on drug trafficking and weapons charges and sentenced to 45 years in prison. It was one of the most sweeping drug trafficking cases to come before a U.S. court since the trial of the Panamanian strongman General Manuel Noriega 3 decades before. But on Friday, President Trump announced that he would pardon Mr. Hernandez, 57, who he said was a victim of political persecution, though Mr. Trump offered no evidence to support that claim. It would be a head-spinning resolution to a case that for prosecutors was a pinnacle striking at the heart of a narco state. The president's 2-week trial in Manhattan and those of his associates before it offered a glimpse into a world of corruption and drug running spanning several countries. Bags of cash, a machine gun with Mr. Hernandez's name emblazoned on it, and bribes from the drug lord Joaquin Guzman, the Mexican kingpin known as El Chapo, featured heavily. Prosecutors said Mr. Hernandez was key to a scheme that lasted more than 20 years and brought more than 500 tons of cocaine into the United States. 500 tons of cocaine. The people of Honduras and the United States bore the consequences, Merrick Garland, then the Attorney General, said in 2024 after Mr. Hernandez was sentenced. Now, of course, that was the Brandon administration, and therefore it's bad, right? Everyone that Brandon pardoned must be sent to prison immediately, and everyone Brandon sent to prison must be released post-haste, okay? Honduras, a country of around 10 million people, has long been linked to the United States. First as a home of sprawling banana plantations owned by the United Fruit Company. We all know what we did there. Then as the location of a key base used for U.S.-backed counterinsurgency efforts, and later as a military post for counter-narcotics. When drug trafficking routes began shifting towards Central America in the 2000s, Honduras came to play a role in transshipment, moving cocaine from South America towards Mexico and the U.S. border. Over that decade, trafficking rose, along with the murder rate, and drug planes arrived with regularity. The June 2009 coup that ousted Manuel Zelaya, the country's left-wing president, ushered in a golden age of drug corruption. Interesting. Mr. Hernandez, unlike many Latin American politicians, rose from humble roots. One of more than a dozen siblings raised in a rural coffee-growing region, he became a lawyer and entered Congress. As president, Mr. Hernandez told U.S. officials that he was doing his utmost to stamp out drug trafficking. But prosecutors said his political career had been fueled by drug money as early as 2009, when he was still a lawmaker and vying to lead the Honduran legislature. At the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, Mr. Hernandez was photographed smiling and giving a thumbs up alongside a known Honduran cartel chief. Didn't he also pardon the Silk Road guy? Yes, he did. You're right. He did do that, okay? That was for different reasons. But he does not give a shit about drug trafficking nonetheless, because this is a very clear-cut example of that, okay? I think that was more so for, like, libertarians. He was throwing a bone to the libertarians and the fucking crypto people and shit. But this one is direct. It's pretty fucking direct, okay? Mr. Hernandez ran for president on the ticket of the Conservative National Party and was elected in 2013. Prosecutors said Mr. Hernandez relied on his connections to the world's most powerful cartels to fund his campaign, including a $1 million bribe from El Chapo Guzman, the Mexican kingpin. He used the weapons and the power of the state for his own ends, according to prosecutors, jurors, and the Hondurans who came to despise him. The threat of being extradited to the United States made drug traffickers eager to bribe anyone who could to protect them, prosecutors said, and they came to know they could rely on Mr. Hernandez. Mr. Hernandez directed the police and military to protect smugglers who paid him off, and he promised to shield them from extradition to the United States. Mr. Hernandez once reassured a Honduran cocaine trafficker that by the time the gringos find out, we will have eliminated extradition, according to prosecutors. Mr. Hernandez even boasted, "We are going to stuff the drugs up the gringos' noses, and they're never even going to know it," according to a witness who testified in the 2021 trial of a drug trafficker. And guess who was his great friend? As a Florida senator, alleged narco president hires GOP lobbyists to sing his praises in Washington. The then Florida Senator Marco Rubio tweeted out thanks to Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez for targeting drug traffickers below a photo of the two men together. Now, what's really interesting about this is that Marco Rubio is basically controlling the entire Venezuelan anti-narco trafficking state war that they're claiming that they're doing at the behest of the purpose of tackling drug trafficking. And I assume Narco Rubio is also, yes, little Narco Rubio, not Marco Rubio, Narco Rubio is, I suspect, also the one in Trump's ear to potentially pardon this guy. Investigators said that Mr. Hernandez went to pitiless lengths to cover his tracks. One accused co-conspirator was killed in a Honduran prison to protect the president. According to court documents, he used the drug money to manipulate the vote in 2 elections, the document said. In 2017, Mr. Hernandez again became president after an election so laced with allegations of fraud that days of violence ensued and about 24 people were killed as the military cracked down. Hondurans, long divided on political lines, united in disgust. The chant, "Fuera JOH," out with JOH, could be heard not just at protests, but among huge migrant caravans marching north, filled with people fed up with poverty and rampant corruption. Publicly, Mr. Hernandez denied any involvement in drug trafficking, and his connections to the U.S. remained strong. President Barack Obama called him one of the excellent partners helping to discourage children from coming to the United States. Mr. Trump recognized him as the winner of the disputed 2017 vote, counting on him to help curb the flow of people and drugs. The Biden administration regarded him as a key ally in Central America as it sought to control migration. Obama strikes again? No, chatters, you have to understand, if you are literate in media analysis, if you are capable of critical thinking, you understand that this passage is basically proof of the thing that I say all the time. American foreign policy is uniparty. American immigration policy is uniparty in many respects. And this is the clear-cut example of that, okay? And here it is in the New York Times, after. You're wrong about this one? Wait, why am I wrong about this one? Not only is it a part of the playbook for the CIA and the State Department to keep the flow or have some semblance of control over the flows of drugs or over the flow of drugs in Central America and in all Latin American countries. But on top of that, the collaboration that American leadership engages in with these actual fucking drug bosses that end up running countries revolves around controlling flows of migration. Now, of course, if you actually wanted to control flows of migration in a permanent way, obviously the best possible thing to do would be to not depose like left-wing leadership to the best of your ability, not engage in espionage or psyops or foreign policy initiatives that are inherently antagonistic to left-wing leadership that seeks to the best of their ability, actually undermine the drug trafficking rings in their countries and to improve and expand upon the pre-existing welfare state that exists in these places so that they can actually normalize the everyday living standards of working-class Hondurans. Of course, if you do that, though, it's not as profitable for your capital owners. And therefore, the system continues, okay? We could still extract a lot of wealth from these countries. It just wouldn't be as much wealth. And autonomy also makes that wealth extraction much less unstable, or much less stable, sorry, where there's no guarantee that you can continue extracting wealth at the same profit margins that you possibly could if the country actually decides to be more competent about, trade protectionism or whatever kind of business standards foreign capital is setting in the nation state. During the Younger brothers' trial in 2019, a former Honduran mayor and a major drug trafficker described how an associate of El Chapo had delivered $1 million in bribes, cash wrapped in plastic bundles of $50,000 and $100,000. Prosecutors displayed the machine gun with Mr. Hernandez's name engraved on it. In February 2022, weeks after he left office, Mr. Hernandez was detained at the request of the United States. He was escorted onto a plane in handcuffs and extradited 2 months later. Fireworks erupted in celebration in the country he once ruled. His own trial showed in grisly detail how Mr. Hernandez had promised to crack down on drug gangs, all while partnering with them instead, according to statements by prosecutors and witnesses. Tevis Leonel Rivera Maradiaga, a former leader of a gang called Los Cachiros, who admitted to being involved in the deaths of 78 people, testified that he had bribed Mr. Hernandez with $250,000 delivered to the president's sister, Hilda, in exchange for protection. Another trafficker testified that he personally delivered a payoff, saying, "I paid $250,000 as a bribe to Juan Orlando Hernandez." Mr. Hernandez was convicted of drug trafficking and weapons conspiracy in a room packed with Hondurans eager to see his downfall. When he was sentenced in 2024, Mr. Hernandez spoke for almost an hour in court, airing conspiracy theories and grievances as he portrayed himself as a victim of political persecution. In a lengthy letter, Mr. Hernandez quoted Edmund Burke, Martin Luther King Jr., and the Bible. "The investigation and trial against me is full of mistakes, of injustices that have become a lynching through the U.S. judicial system," Mr. Hernandez wrote. "The prosecutors and agents did not do the due diligence in the investigation to know the whole truth." For many Hondurans, his conviction was a rare taste of justice. A woman in the crowd outside the courthouse celebrating his punishment held a sign that read, "No clemency for narco politics." But on Saturday, Mr. Trump said in a statement to the New York Times that many friends had asked him to pardon Mr. Hernandez. They gave him 45 years because he was the president of the country. You could do this to any president. Isn't that awesome? I mean, the timing of it could not be funnier. I'm sorry. It is pretty crazy that he is literally doing this to a convicted drug trafficker while simultaneously using no evidence whatsoever to claim that Maduro is actually a real narco terrorist. And the only way to deal with Maduro is not to conduct a lengthy investigation and set up charges and then try to arrest them or whatever, but instead to actually bomb Caracas, okay? And potentially even do a ground invasion of Venezuela. Fucking awesome. No, Honduras is not next. The reason why he's doing this is because Honduras won't be next because he already has a pliant ally in Honduras. Honduras is not next. The reason why he pardoned this guy is because he actually doesn't. I think that wasn't there there's also a person that he endorsed for the Honduran presidency. Yeah. Honduras election on a knife edge as Trump-backed man slightly ahead. Early results in the general election in Honduras show the leader of the right-wing National Party, Nasri Asfura, has a razor-thin lead. With almost 56% of the votes counted, the conservative candidate was just 0.22 percentage points ahead of former TV host Salvador Nasrallah, according to the results published by the National Electoral Council. Stressing that the results were both preliminary and partial, the head of the CNE said that the race was on a knife edge between center-right Nasrallah and right-wing Asfura. Asfura has the backing of the U.S. President Donald Trump, who has threatened to cut financial aid to the Central American nation if his preferred candidate does not win. Yeah, by the way, Latin America is so funny because one candidate is Palestinian and the other one is Lebanese. Another not so great example of a Latin American leader of Palestinian descent who, El Salvador, the leader of El Salvador is also of Palestinian descent. There is a major Arab diaspora and a Palestinian diaspora in Latin American countries. Yes, Nayib Bukele is also of Palestinian descent. I don't like bringing up this fact because he is dog shit, so I try to avoid mentioning that. But yes, Nayib Bukele is of Palestinian descent as well. El Salvador is doing better than ever. No, totally. I know. We should do concentration camps in every Latin American country. Thank you. I love the people who are in this community who are pro Nayib Bukele is awesome. That's so funny. No, it's not a joke. There are a lot of fucking brain broken Salvadorans, both in diaspora and even in El Salvador. There's a lot of people who think he's doing awesome. Nor, my rewind is gone. How do I get it back? Great question, Kev Gui. All you need to do is actually subscribe. If you subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service, you can take advantage of the rewind function. Yeah, my entire family are immigrants from El Salvador, and I agree Bukele is dog shit. Like, MS-13 is a horrifying criminal enterprise, okay? Absolutely unacceptable, horrifying, except the solution to MS-13 is not to basically make the government a different version of MS-13, sometimes directly collaborating with MS-13. For example, Nayib Bukele also extracted some MS-13 prisoners from the United States of America in exchange for the CCOT immigration structure that they designed. And the speculation at the time was that he got those MS-13 prisoners back to El Salvador because he didn't want them to openly reveal that he was collaborating with MS-13. Because if Mr. I'm against MS-13 was found out to have been collaborating with MS-13, I feel like that would have some shockwaves even in the diaspora. But yes, there are a lot of right-wing Latinos who love Bukele and think he's doing awesome. Part of that is because they are so fatigued and so terrified of living under different versions of the same kind of narco state structure. So they're just like, enough is enough. Kill them all. Who gives a shit? Not realizing that level of unrestrained violence in the hands of the state is going to end up hurting you as well. I am not against apprehending criminals. I am, however, in favor of abiding by due process and making sure that there is a real normal legal structure. Otherwise, the state turns into a gang, a much more powerful gang than even MS-13 ever could be. It's mostly because people don't see more than the first layers. They see less gang and nothing else matters. There have been examples of the authoritarian military being dicks on camera. Yeah, you're way too charitable sometimes, man. What do you mean? Yeah, Salvadoran here, Nayib only replaced gangs with police force. 3% of the population are under arrest. There's no official data, but the estimates is 6 out of 10 people in jail are innocent. Yeah. And we know that is a likely percentage, even though we will never have like full confirmation of that. But the reason why we know that is a likely percentage is because they literally do black bagging. Like random fucking shopkeepers, if they live in a neighborhood where there's like MS-13 gang members in a country that was basically run by MS-13. So obviously everyone is going to have some level of fucking direct or indirect involvement with MS-13, even if they are fucking totally innocent. But they do dragnets and they black bag people and they literally put them in front of a judge that is wearing a balaclava, okay? A judge that's like hiding their identity will do 200 convictions at a time. How can you call that justice? That is fucking insane. Nayib Bukele is for sure far right, but if he holds a 90+% approval rating among citizenry, which is only possible by having a high approval rating among even left-wing Salvadorians, who are you to castigate him? Honest question. Murder rates have dropped 98% in El Salvador. Yeah, murder rates have dropped 98% in El Salvador because one, there is not a, first of all, Bukele's administration also controls the distribution of that information. So we don't even know if the murder rates have actually dropped by 98%. There is real serious skepticism around the numbers themselves. There's a lot of disappearances, for example, and then they just don't get put down as murders. There's also a lot of collaboration between Bukele and MS-13 in general. And outside of that, yeah, of course, you can drop if you arrest everyone, you can drop the fucking the murder rates down to 0%. What do you mean? Okay, but you arrested everybody. Everybody's now in prison. Is that success? I don't think so. Like, put everyone in prison and make them prove their innocence. Yeah, I mean, that's basically Salvadoran here. I've said it before. My aunt almost went to jail for treating gang members. She's literally a nurse. The only reason why she was left off the hook was because my family's entire village came out for her and told the judge she's just a nurse and all the good she's done. Yeah, they mark most homicides as disappearances, which is why homicides have dropped while disappearances have skyrocketed. There's that. And then also on top of that, they've arrested a significant percentage of the population. If you have any connection whatsoever, like the nurse story, the anecdote that chatter just told, or shopkeepers, like there are storefronts, there are just like people selling shit on the side of the road. Some of those guys are forced at gunpoint to collaborate with, to pay for protection with like a local MS-13 affiliate, right? If you're arresting the fucking shopkeeper who is a victim, you've now doubly victimized that person. And also, there is no, like, if the government itself has turned into a a gang in and of itself, then what are you supposed to do? You're fucked. You have nothing. You can't do anything. So yes, people who are not under the scrutiny of the government are going to be happy because they're like, well, at least crime is down. But that is the reason why I find myself comfortable castigating the otherwise very popular Nayib Bukele. There's been the same, historically, the same old pattern of security, authoritative regimes where disappearances are commonplace. Chile, Argentina, Dominican Republic, etc. Yes. One of my very first chat messages was about this very topic regarding my family. I actually have a little update to that. A couple months ago, I asked my dad for his true thoughts about Trump. He said he doesn't like what he's doing right now, and despite him probably being pro-Bukele and still quite conservative, I actually explained to him socialist thoughts, and he was familiar and even agreed with it. I just wanted to say that. Yeah, also, if you want to fucking sell your dad on socialism, just talk about what Bukele did before he became the leader of El Salvador. Because Nayib Bukele was actually a very promising politician in El Salvador. Unironically, he was working on rehabilitation initiatives. Like, he literally was a woke guy. Okay, Nayib Bukele back in the day, if you look back, you can probably find some of my videos talking about Nayib Bukele as a promising politician in El Salvador when he was unironically left-wing. He was a young guy of Palestinian background and was trying to solve like the underlying material inequities in which crime manifests, all this stuff before he went full fucking cryptocurrency grifter, an evil villain dictator. He got hit with the Fetterman ray. Yeah, no, he pulled a Mussolini, I guess. Well, Mussolini was never, Mussolini never actually was a politician that was in any way, shape, or form socialist. He was a journalist, a newspaper guy. Yeah, here's the socialist king, Nayib Bukele. Well, you have this exact same image with Donald Trump as well, to be fair. I don't know why people have opinions on something when they don't know. Not you talking about some of the chatters. I don't know much about this, so I just taken the information. Yeah, now he just runs around calling himself a dictator. No, but Donald Trump, 2016. There's an image identical to this with Donald Trump in 2016 holding up a LGBT for Trump flag. Anyway, getting back to the ridiculous hypocrisy. It was the first Trump admin which developed a case against President Hernandez. His brother, Tony Hernandez, was indicted in 2018 and convicted in 2019. A key ally, Giovanni Fuentes Ramirez, was indicted in 2020. Both were later sentenced to life in prison. So Trump won, once again, setting up the case to arrest this guy under the Biden administration and convict this guy under the Biden administration, only for Trump to turn around and be like, well, Biden put him in jail. He's probably a good guy. Let's release him. Hernandez participated in the importation of at least 185,000 kilograms of cocaine, secured millions of dollars in bribes to Honduran officials, used heavily armed security, including members of the Honduran military and national police. I think this really is the left-wing grift, using left-wing aesthetics and even policies to get power and then switch up. Yeah. Today on tap from David Dan, Marco Rubio is selling a war of choice in Venezuela based on the falsehoods about narco trafficking to get right-wing South Florida exile political allies back into power is an incredibly parochial pretext for an imperial adventure. It's hard to escape the feeling that this is all being done to flatter a few power-mad expats with little concern for American interests. It even managed to sweep in the Nobel Committee, which made the disastrous decision to give opposition leader Maria Corina Machado the Peace Prize, an epic misstep that will take its place alongside Henry Kissinger in the ignominious annals of that award's history. As Maureen Kachik laid out in a dynamite long read last week, the same people who bankrupted Venezuela when in control of a shadow government and who stage managed the failed mercenary-led coup attempt at the end of Trump's first term are the ones agitating to return, despite having stunningly bad reputations in the country they want to lead. The largest proven oil reserves in the world are more the spoils of war than its cause. Last week, a federal judge approved the sale of Venezuelan-owned oil refiner Citgo to Elliott Investment Management, whose founder, Paul Singer, has been a Rubio backer for a decade. Paul Singer rears his ugly head once again in Latin American affairs. But neither hemispheric control, nor petroleum futures, nor interdicting drug supply is the main point of this mad rush. Right-wingers want to get back in charge of Venezuela, and they have a friend in the State Department. How awesome. Oh, how fucking dope, dude. It's not even about them. It's for Exxon. No, that's just spoils of war. It's not just for oil, but the oil is look, from what I understand, Venezuela is much more open to extraction with Western capital at this stage than they ever have been under Chavez, okay? But that is a non-starter for foreign capital in general. just like it was a non-starter in Iran. Mossadegh didn't actually fucking say British Petroleum is no longer going to extract Iranian oil. Mossadegh simply said, hey, we want to actually re-examine this relationship that we have with British Petroleum because it kind of feels like we're getting fucked over here. And they were. So it was literally that additional 10% that was the demand from Mossadegh or something along those lines. That was enough for a fucking espionage initiative to be implemented in Iran and the Shah to come back into power as a puppet leader. Okay, that's it. Sometimes it is that much. Okay, so for a lot of these guys, just like for a company, it's the threat of unionization that might actually hurt their profit margins in the long run. So they'll spend more money than the initial demand that the union could make in the first couple of years to basically stamp out any sort of unionization initiatives. It is the fact that if a country gains some semblance of sovereignty or some semblance of autonomy, even if they're doing a 50-50 partnership, or that's what their demand is when it's like a 40-60 partnership, let's say, and they want to bring it back to like a 50-50 partnership, later down the line, they might actually secure more resources and more of that foreign capital and redistribute it and actually develop so that they can have a higher point of leverage next time that deal comes into play. And that is the real threat. It's the continued extraction of natural resources with bargain bin prices that these foreign capitalists want to impose. They want to continue. Okay? That's what it is. That is the reason why a destabilized Venezuela is much more favorable for a lot of these people than a stable Venezuela run by leadership that has some kind of leverage and has some kind of interest in negotiating. It's not the fact that they don't want to negotiate at all. I'm sure that Maduro, if given the opportunity right now, would love for a Chevron deal, would love for an Exxon partnership, okay? The country is starving. The country is fucking suffering. That would mean sanctions relief for them. He would take that deal any day of the fucking week, okay? It's also a far better deal than blowing up Caracas. The problem is, if you actually take that deal, you normalize Maduro. If you take that deal, then he might demand a better deal for the Venezuelan population later down the line. And that's terrifying. That's a terrifying prospect. So that is a big part of the equation here. But in terms of like why we have chosen Venezuela and why we're aggressively trying to go to war with Venezuela, well, unfortunately, the oil reserves are just the spoils of war, as David Dayen correctly points out. It's the icing on the cake. The major reason is because they want to install a right-wing dictatorship in Venezuela that is much more compliant with foreign capital demands in general. Oil is only one part of it. On the one hand, cowardice of giving up 10% of profits for being a real man and holding up to business practices, which way, Western man? They will never. History is riddled with foreign capital saying fuck no to that additional 10% demand. Because it's not about the additional 10% demand. It's the fact that you are demanding something. It's the fact that you have sovereignty. These guys would much rather have Western compliance, even if it's a dictatorship, right? Western compliance, even if it's an authoritarian government that's just like killing fucking members of the population, disappearing them, throwing them off of fucking helicopters like Pinochet used to do. All of that stuff is totally fine as long as there is no sovereignty, as long as there are no redistributive policies that any sort of foreign leader is engaging in. It is a way to prolong that pain and instability and lack of development, so it's much easier to continue extracting super profits from the global south. This is Western capitalist foreign policy in perpetuity. Okay? Even if the demands are modest, the very fact that you're making a demand means that you have the audacity to demand sovereignty, and that is unacceptable. That is a real threat, okay? Yeah, let's be clear. The U.S. government does not care about the people of Venezuela. It cares about U.S. hegemony and the interests of U.S. capitalist class. That's what this is about. Always. Always and forever. Would you say that thanks to the internet and all the conspiracy theories out there, it's gotten more difficult for the USA to just go straight into attacking Venezuela? Maybe, but I don't think they need compliance. I don't think they need to even manufacture consent, because I think they just do it without consent. The American government is realizing that they don't need consent at all. They don't even need to manufacture consent. They just kind of do it. Why can't Maduro threaten to blow up the oil fields like Iran did? What do you mean, blow up his own oil fields? What are you talking about? It's the last remaining lifeline for Venezuela. He's not going to blow up his own fucking oil field. Reporter asked Donald Trump directly, do we have a video of this? I would love to see his face during this. Maybe it's on the playlist.
Caroline, excuse me, regarding Venezuela, the president said
we're going back to the drug boats, in air quotes, okay?
Yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, the reported second strike on an alleged drug boat on September 2nd, the secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Abe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially...
Is that a weird FPS on this, or is Twitch fucking with me? No, I don't know if it's like weird FPS on my computer in general, but I've been noticing that as well with YouTube.
Designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so
not even coming from Venezuela, mind you. Once again, not even coming from Venezuela. And they have done zero propaganda to even imply that it's coming from Venezuela. They just say it, right? But they don't even tie it to Venezuela. They just say fentanyl's coming into the country, and they just let it hang. Okay, is there any evidence that it's coming from Venezuela? Well, we didn't suggest that it was coming from Venezuela. We just said that it's happening, right? Okay. Is this the most appropriate way of dealing with it, even if there is any evidence that you have presented that it's coming from Venezuela? Shut the fuck up. We have to bomb Venezuela.
So that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last, and it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
So to be clear, to clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave.
Andrew, go ahead. Sure.
First strike. You said that second strike was...
For clarity, is there evidence to suggest where the drugs are coming from? And if so, where? Yeah, the DEA's own assessment, the DEA's own intelligence shows that drugs are obviously coming in. The chemical compounds necessary to produce fentanyl oftentimes comes from China, and the other parts come from the Mexican border. Okay. And it is trafficked primarily by American citizens, contrary to what the Trump administration is saying. It's like 80%. The overwhelming majority, I think somewhere around 90%, are trafficked through our ports and regular points of entry. And 80% are actually trafficked by American citizens. Okay. The fentanyl precursors are shipped in, the chemicals and things of that nature are shipped in through our regular ports, through by way of China, and the rest comes from Mexico, trafficked by American citizens. We have the market. It is Americans who are consuming the drugs. It is Americans who are trafficking the drugs. It is an entirely American problem. But the solution to it seemingly is everything but tackling with this tackling this American problem at the point of America. Okay? It's always everybody else. It's ironic because this demand for it, the market for it, and the trade for the fentanyls is in exchange for the weapon that Americans have. Okay? Cartels ship in the drugs with American citizens, and then American weapons make their way to the are used by the cartel. That's why they have all the best gear. So it quite literally plays a role in destabilizing Mexico. So there are numerous points where we can actually tackle this problem. It's just we are not invested in tackling this problem at all. Okay. Having said that, I don't know if you noticed this, but at no point did I mention Venezuela. That's because, according to the DEA's own assessment, Venezuela plays no role in fentanyl trafficking. Like, none at all. So when these guys are saying, oh, fentanyl is killing Americans, like, we got to blow up these drug boats, they're literally blowing up random low-level smugglers that are using go-fast boats between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago. These boats do not have the capacity to make it to the American coastline anyway, and that's not a significant narco-trafficking hub. So it's just completely made up.
In full accordance with the law of armed conflict, but the Navy's own manual of law of war says that specifically firing on survivors from a wrecked vessel.
And yeah, there isn't even enough evidence to suggest that they are smuggling drugs between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela, for the record. They're just simply claiming that. I want to stress this, okay? They released some information, and also there were follow-up investigations that were conducted by the New York Times and from other foreign outlets that suggest that these guys, like some of the people that were killed, were just straight up like super low level, irrelevant to like drug trafficking in America. Like some of them were just like trafficking shipment, or some of them were like smuggling other shit, not even drugs. Some of them were fishermen. Knockoff merchandise, things of that nature. Just like not regular, not exactly busting any sort of like serious significant narco trafficking enterprise. Of course, one of the greatest ironies here is that if you want to tackle the overdose problem with opiates, there is the last administration that actually took the initiative, quietly, albeit, even though it became a major point of contention for Fox News watchers at the time. But a marginal move in the direction of rehabilitation over incarceration actually created an environment where, for the first time ever under the Biden administration, overdose deaths decreased. Okay, they did. Overdose deaths by opiates actually decreased under the Biden administration in the last year, in the election year, as a matter of fact. A big part of that was because of harm reduction initiatives, something that I talked about quite a bit, even during the campaign, even during the election cycle, and yet the Democrats never made a big fuss about it at all for some fucking weird reason. But yes, distribution of Narcan, safe injection sites, and other kinds of harm reduction initiatives actually successfully lowered the number of overdose deaths in the country for the first time since the opiate crisis started. Of course, Donald Trump came in and cut all of those initiatives, so who knows where the fuck we'll go with the opioid overdose deaths in the country now. I don't know where we're at, and I don't even know if we'll ever actually get accurate numbers from this fucking administration any longer, considering that we can't even get financial numbers. You know? Everything is awful. Everything is broken. But it almost feels like drug addiction is a health issue and not one that you can penalize and treat like a issue of criminality. No.
Is an example of a war crime that's forbidden under U.S. law and the law of armed conflict. So how was that second strike in following law of armed conflict and then second on immigration?
Again, Andrew, I would reiterate to you the strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict. And since somebody asked about Congress and it's sort
You're missing a very important thing. Drug policy is what causes overdoses. No, I'm not missing a very important thing. I'm saying that. That's the point I'm making. Yes. You're absolutely correct, Chatter. I agree with you.
Related to Venezuela, I also want to add that Secretary Hegseth spoke with members of Congress who may have expressed some concerns over the weekend. And there have also been 13 bipartisan briefings to Congress on the Venezuelan strikes. There have been a number of document reviews for members of Congress to review the classified DOJ Office of Legal Counsel opinion and other related documents. 29 senators and 92 representatives have reviewed those documents, which is about 2/3 of those are Democrat members, and they have been made available to all 100 senators, all 435 members of the House, and to general counsels of the relevant committees on a bipartisan basis for their review.
What do you think they're going to do after bombing Venezuela and the drugs keep entering the U.S. since the drugs don't come from Venezuela? I don't think anyone even believes that they're doing this to tackle drugs. So I don't think anything will change in that regard. I'm going to be real with you, chatter. I don't think that is going to change at all.
In addition to...
It'll just like piss off some Americans, I think, and then the rest of them will get all hoo-ha and patriotic about why we're destroying another country. You know, they're going to find out why we don't have health care. Venezuelans about to find out why we don't have health care. Anyway, skipping this. And talking more about the why they're supporting these attacks then. Who's supporting these attacks? I just explained to you that consent doesn't even need to be manufactured anymore because who the fuck's going to stop them? My dad? Okay, well, I do love seeing a hog in the wild like that because for most people, okay, respect for outing your dad like this. But as far, he's so hogged out, it's fucking crazy. Yeah. There are always going to be people that are so hogged out, as you say, that they will just agree with anything that this administration is doing, no matter what. I don't think those people can be moved in general. Because, like, Chatter's dad is wild because even the polls are showing like 60% of Republicans oppose overthrowing Maduro. Yeah, like you have to be a special kind of hog that's not even like the normal MAGA hog if you're like actively supporting whatever the fuck we're doing in Venezuela. Because apparently, according to polls that we've looked at, even the Republicans by majority do not agree with intervention in Venezuela. At most, the only thing that they've agreed on is the boats being blown up. And that's like at 70% or something, which... maybe because they haven't really done too much propaganda for the hog to get on board with direct military intervention. So you might have like a shiny Pokemon style elite hog in your dad. Cherish it.
To his crackdown on the Caribbean drug trade, President Trump announced over the weekend that he would pardon the former president of Honduras, who was convicted just last year of conspiring to import cocaine into the United States. Jay O'Brien has the story. Good morning, Jay.
Yeah, good morning, George. President Trump has repeatedly warned that drug cartels present an urgent danger to the United States. But this morning, in a major contradiction, the president announcing he's pardoning Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, currently serving a 45-year prison sentence here in the U.S. for drug trafficking and weapons charges. In 2024, the Department of Justice said that for nearly 2 decades, Hernandez helped cartels, quote, move mountains of cocaine into this country, and it was at the center of one of the largest and most violent drug trafficking conspiracies in the world. And despite that, in a post announcing his endorsement of the conservative candidate in Honduras' ongoing elections, Trump also promised to grant Hernandez a, quote, full and complete pardon, claiming the former leader had been treated very harshly and unfairly, and arguing without evidence that Hondurans believe Hernandez was, quote unquote, set up. Now, Democrats slamming this move, calling it part of a string of controversial pardons issued by President Trump. Even Republican Senator Bill Cassidy.
Someone should have told Donald Trump that Barack Obama loved this guy. Maybe he would have reconsidered posting such positive things about him. You know, you just released Barack Obama's favorite guy. Excuse me. And possibly Hunter Biden's crack dealer.
Of Louisiana, questioning why the administration would pardon Hernandez and then go after Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro on similar accusations of drug trafficking. George.
Okay, Jay, thanks very much.
Follow up on the MRI, because President Trump yesterday said that he would release the results of his MRI.
Dude, everything is so busted, down to the president's health.
Is that happening right now?
It is happening right now. As part of, and this is a summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it.
My dad deadass says there's no other thing those boats could possibly be for other than deadly murder, ocean drugs, and that. And as non-U.S. citizens approaching here illegally, question mark, they deserve no fair trial, due process. I mean, that's awesome. That it has nothing to do with the things that are happening, but he's imagined it. And therefore, we just have to kind of deal with it. Because, like, I would say that, like, 20 to 30% of Americans are exactly like your dad. They are just fucking hallucinating. They're just taking on whatever the fuck Fox News is saying, whatever the fuck Trump is saying at face value and going, yup, good enough for me. Like, a couple questions would, I think, brick everything he knows about the world. You could just be like, Dad, do you think that this is the most efficient way to traffic drugs to the United States coastline? Like, how do you think a tiny boat like that could make its way to the United States of America? Like, just open up a map and be like, do you see this? Do you see this trip? Do you think it's possible to make this trip on a go-fast boat? Like, how many stops do you think need to take place? You're going to make his brain explode? I mean, I'm just saying, at least have fun with it at this point. You got a shiny Pokemon-style hog in your dad. You might as well enjoy the show, you know? Because I would like to explore. I would like to explore, like, the depths of his imagination. Like, how is he going to look at that and be like, well, you know, maybe they're making like 20 stops along the route. Like, where are they stopping? How are they refueling? Or do they just have extra fuel tanks? And if that's the case, I feel like, given the size of the boat, you wouldn't even have any space for cocaine or fentanyl, you know? I would like to know how they would come up with that. Like, I would like to know what they would... Wait, why are you attacking the guy? What the fuck? He's not even it's not his fault that his dad believes nonsensical shit. The fuck? Calm down, chatter. Aren't the 30-odd% wanting this war just neocon hogs? Like, you're probably like a boomer hog who still loves the war on terror with a love boner for it all? Sure.
For you, and then you'll get it physically as well. As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. No evidence of arterial narrowing impairing blood flow or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size, the vessel walls appear smooth and healthy, and there are no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. In summary, this level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall.
The president is the healthiest man in the United States of America. No one has ever been healthier than our beautiful president. Like, look, I'm not in the business of dunking on North Korea, but anytime I hear her do one of these things, I am reminded of my goat, the DPRK lady who Kim Jong-un gave an apartment to. You know what I'm talking about? I forget her name. The elderly lady who's been doing this for years and years at this point. I love her. I mean, she's got way more swag than Caroline Leavitt, but like the tone of voice, it just like reminds me of that. Ri Chun-hee, is that her name? Peak healthy man. A listener passes along this photo of our president enjoying his meal at the golf club earlier. I've never seen a healthier man. I've never seen a healthier man in general. I'm not even talking about president. I'm talking straight up healthiest American. Okay. Yeah. You might not like to see it, but this is a peak physicality. Okay. When you nut, but she keeps sucking. I'm sorry. Which president's getting the best head? Bubba's returning the favor. Okay, I'm done. All right. Enough of this madness. Let's take a look. The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about it?
Wait, what? I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes. What do you mean? You don't want to comment on it? You just gave a comment on it.
Would you say it went well?
I would say it went well or badly.
back to this? If so, when? Just spent the evening with Trump at Real Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. His stamina is unbelievable for any age. He was tearing your shit up. Oh my God. I know he had you screaming. He fucked you good. Oh, that's awesome. They did do this exact same thing with Brandon, which is why it's beautiful. Our president is Brandoning. Every president going forward post Brandon is gonna be branded. Ow. Oh my God. Oh, I think I blew my fucking upper back out sneezing. I'm Brandoning too. Everybody, everything's transgender. Everybody, Brandon. Oh, God. Funny story. One time I shared the other Hasan's account tweet with a friend who hates you and he lost his shit at me because he thinks all Hassans are you. That's awesome.
Mr. You've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S. Right. Can you explain more about why you would pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
Well, I don't know who you're talking about.
Juan Orlando Hernandez.
Well, I was told, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. I don't mean Biden. Look, Biden didn't know he was alive, but it was the people that surround the Resolute desk, surround Biden when he was there, which was about very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up and it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country. And they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And they said it was a Biden administration setup. And I looked at the facts and I agreed with them.
What evidence can you share that he was set up and that he wasn't?
Well, you take a look. I mean, they could say that you take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life.
Mr. President,
do you think the U.S. That includes this country? Okay.
Why does he sound like shit? Excuse me. He sounds amazing. How dare you? How dare you do such? How dare you say such
New
things?
details in the deadly National Guard ambush investigation. Ramanullah Lakanawal of Afghanistan facing murder in the first degree after 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom died from gunshot wounds.
Yeah, I can't get over the fucking whole, you know, we're dealing with drug traffickers at the highest level here. And that's why we have to bomb Venezuela, while simultaneously in the same weekend, I cannot believe that in the same weekend he pardoned the former president of Honduras, who got like what 50 years for drug trafficking, like convicted drug trafficker. They're dabbing on us. How can you look at this as anything but they're dabbing on us? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You have to be doing it on purpose, right? It's like, haha, what are you gonna fucking do, bitch? Yeah, they're just flexing, right? This has to be a flex. I don't know. They're teabagging. They're teabagging. It's BM. It's BM. Like, maybe don't do this right now. You know, maybe do it like a year later after you have already been in the depths of bombing Venezuela to combat narco trafficking, as you have claimed. Because one's an actual convicted drug trafficker. The other one, you're just kind of making up. You're just kind of saying is a drug trafficker, but you don't even have your heart in it.